Does Ramon's injury have an impact on what you can do in practice?
Yeah, I mean, Ramon was kind of the culture guy on that light team, which is our second unit. Energy guy. Um, he held guys accountable that he was guarding. You know, you don't get a break if Ramon's guarding. Um, he did the same. I remember last year with Jarvis Walker. It was the last guy Jarvis wanted guarding. Ramon beat him up. You know, does the same thing with all these guys this year. He's it's just a hit from a lot of different ways, but um, is what it is.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go to Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle. Joseph, please go ahead with your question for Coach.
Good morning, Kelvin.
Good morning.
Kelvin, if I could go back to the late in the second half, the impact plays that Emanuel Sharp makes, the spin move on the three, the off-balance layup, the inbounds play he scored on, and then he made a defensive play. Just those impact plays that he's made throughout the season. If you could sort of capsulize what that means and how that development has gone for him to be a guy that comes up clutch in big moments like that.
Yeah, at first, when we were in Australia this summer, I can't remember which one of those teams we were playing, but Emmanuel was just kind of throws himself around. One of the things I enjoy most about how we do our program is just the player development side of it. Watching him come in here, and he enrolled early, but he didn't touch a basketball, I think, for 6 or 7 months because he had that horrific leg injury. And then last year, he also played with a rod in his leg. He had to have surgery in June when the season, when school was over, had to go back to Tampa and have surgery and take the rod out of his leg. And so I noticed him this summer, July, August. Emmanuel's a lot more athletic. He's moving better, but he doesn't complain. I didn't even know he had a rod in his leg until John told me, our trainer. But it's kind of his personality, Joseph. He's my nickname for him is Crash because he's always falling. The other day we were running a baseline play to get the ball in bounds, and I wanted the ball in either LJ or Emmanuel's hands, but Emanuel fell down. That's Crash for you. He falls down a lot. And the ball wound up in Damien's hands. Damien wound up shooting free throws versus Emanuel or LJ. But just his growth, he's got a high ceiling above him, though. He's going to continue to get better because he's comfortable and he's confident. And, he's one of those guards that's earned the right to have freedom. When he came in here, his light was probably a little more yellow than green. But now I want him to attack the slots, especially when we have the corners filled. Our big guys know how to relocate, which allows them to get in a position offensive rebound. But Emmanuel's really improved, and I'm looking forward to his continued development.
Thank you, Joseph. We'll go to Greg Bailey from KTRK-TV. Greg, please go ahead.
Hey, Kelvin, just this group's ability to overcome adversity, whatever, that amounts to be, whether it's, the lead gets away from you in Waco, the place is going nuts, and you guys just stay steady and stay through it all. Is that just baked into your culture, or is that something special about this particular group?
I think all our teams have had that DNA. This team's in front of you, so you notice it more, but most of our teams we get down a lot. I was watching our game against Cincinnati this morning. we were terrible in the first half at their place. But these crowds impact their teams. There's 13 players on that, or I'm sorry, there's 13 people on that court, and all 13 of them get impacted by these crowds. The way we finished the first half and then to start the second half, we got down 38-31 at Cincinnati. Then I think we outscored them 19-3. But I think the way you practice, the accountability, your standards, expectations, those three things. I know you guys that cover us on a daily basis get tired of hearing me talk about the same things over and over. So I'd apologize, but I'd rather say you'll get over it. So, but that's just the way our program is run. We don't change a whole lot year to year. The players change, I guess, but we try to maintain our standards for how we want to practice and finish practice. I don't like guys letting go of the rope with 30 minutes left in practice. Practice is not over yet. Practice is over when I say it's over. When I blow the whistle and say, okay, let's do something else. Whether it's post-practice, one-on-one stuff or free throws or shooting or set, getting shots out of our sets, whatever it is we're working on. But that toughness thing, you got to be built on something. Good, bad, or indifferent, every team's going to be known for something. You don't have to work at being known for anything. You'll be known for it, whether it's good or bad. But I choose to be known for what our identity is. How hard we play, our toughness. That stuff matters, especially when you go on the road. So just proud of our kids' resilience there. Over the course of 40 minutes, if you have the best shooting night ever, you're going to miss 60% of your shots. Well, we never do that. So we have to be really good at when we miss shots. The game to go to the Final Four against Oregon State, I think we shot 34%, but we had 20 offensive rebounds. So as those things are not accidents.
Thank you, Greg. We'll go to Jeff Borzello from ESPN. Jeff, please go ahead with your question for Coach.
Hey, Kelvin, I just wanted to kind of look back at maybe the offseason or the preseason and just get your take on what you thought would be maybe the biggest adjustment or the biggest challenge for your team moving from the AAC to the Big 12 and kind of how you've adapted in that area or areas.
What I focused on, Jeff, was I never thought much about that question. I really didn't. Because I'd already coached in the Big 12. It's just a different schedule in some ways. I was more worried about Marcus Sasser. I had Marcus Sasser for 4 years. I had to replace him. I had replaced the number 8 pick in the draft and Jarris Walker. I had to replace him. So we played a certain way with that team. I had Tremont Mark doing this, Jarris doing this, Marcus doing this, Reggie Chaney, who I use as an example to teach the other kids how to do our coverage calls at the different areas of the floor. I think that was more of a concern for me, bringing in LJ Cryer and getting him industrialized, I think would be the word, to our culture and how we do things. But then, I had 2 transfers and Cryer and Dunn. And then I had an 18-year-old freshman in JoJo Tugler. So trying to figure out how those guys fit and coaching them hard every day so they'll understand that there's standards that you've got to meet every day. So as far as the American to the Big 12, I heard all the talk. It was just never a concern for me. We always played a tough non-conference schedule, but a lot of people condemned us for being in the American. That was our conference. We didn't choose the American; they chose us, thankfully, because at the time when conferences. We're trying to get in the Power Five. This was way before I got here, but I loved being an American because I thought the Americans kept getting better and better and better. You know, in 2014, the national champion came from the American. Larry Brown and at SMU had that thing humming now. And then Memphis, Cincinnati. I always thought Cincinnati was kind of the bell cow because their tradition was just longer than everybody else's. So I just wanted to, you know, get to where we could compete for the top of the league. You know, everything else around here was the bottom of the league. But I thought if we could, you know, get this, and this done, we could get to the top of the league. And then when we get to the Big 12, I knew the schools in the Big 12. And I think the biggest adjustment going from the American to the Big 12 was the arenas. You know, Cincinnati has a tremendous home court advantage, 12, 13,000, whatever it seats. But, you know, everybody in America wasn't like Cincinnati. You know, Memphis with Tubby and Penny, especially, and Josh Pastner. Memphis has a great home court advantage, but that's not many schools had that. But when you go to the Big 12, every school has it. So you've got to be on set. You know, we've played, how many games have we played? I don't know, what is our record in the league right now? How many,
24-3, 24-3 overall, Kelvin.
What, I mean, how many league games though?
I believe you're 11-3.
Okay, so we got 4 games left. Now you think about those 4 games. There's just there's no breaks. You know, I made kind of a silly analogy back during media day about how tough this dog park is. That was true. You know, there ain't no Chihuahuas and Shih Tzus running around this league. You got Cincinnati, who's a powerhouse name in college basketball. Then you've got go to Oklahoma, who has been as consistent as any program in the country over the last 25 years. Kansas is Kansas. UCF is, you know, it's just every night is tough. That's the difference, Jeff. But we didn't change anything. You know, we believe in what we're doing here. I didn't become a different coach. I didn't go get some magical plays or let's change our culture. No, we do what we do, and we try to do the best we can every night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll go to Chancellor Johnson with KPRC TV. Chancellor, please go ahead, sir.
Hey, good morning, Kelvin. How are you?
Good morning, Chancellor.
Yeah, so to that point, with just a couple of weeks to March, you guys presumably will be the #1 team in the country, which I know you don't care about. And more importantly, you're sitting on top of the Big 12 right now. What does that say about just the Houston Cougars at this point? Just about this is just who you guys are, and what does it say about the consistency of this program that this is just who you are year in and year out?
That's not for me to answer, brother. You write what you want to write. I don't know what it means. You know, our consistency is consistent. That's be the way I describe it. We're consistent.
Thank you, Chancellor.
I don't like being put in a position where I have to brag on our team. That's, my father said, it's always a lot better if other people say something good about you. I'd rather just stay humble and have a great work day today and get ready for tomorrow night. That other stuff that's your business, not mine.
Thank you, Chancellor. We'll go back to Joseph Duarte, please. Go ahead, Joseph.
Kelvin, depending on how you decide to go and substitutions and such, having Damian with the starters experience and all the experience really that he had at Temple, is that a benefit versus, you know, what previous years if you had guys that maybe were specific role players throughout versus having had starter minutes, at some time in their career?
It depends on the player. Just because you've had starter minutes doesn't mean you're a better player off the bench than a guy that's been consistent off the bench. It's hard to take a cleanup hitter and make him a leadoff hitter. It's hard to take a guy that's a backup running back that's used to coming in on certain plays and certain situations, and all of a sudden make him a starter or vice versa. I just think guys are good in roles, and our roles are very specific on your responsibilities. When we lost Terrence, it took a while. It took me a while after we lost Terrence to get Ramon where I wanted him to be and buy into it. I mean, really bite down on being good at this. And it took days and days and days of practice, repetitions, get in there. A lot of times, I like to do, I may do 4-minute scrimmages, and if I do that, I usually bring referees in. And sometimes I'll tell the referees to call it tight. Sometimes I'll tell them don't call much today. Let them beat on each other a little bit. And that's November, December, early January. This time of year, you're not hardly doing any of that. But Ramon was really getting good. He was playing his best basketball. That's why my heart broke for him. I mean, it really did. My heart broke for that young man when I think it impacted us emotionally when it happened. And then now you're down Terrence, and now you're down Ramon. And Damien's strengths and skill set is nothing like Ramon's. He can't do what Ramon did. Damien's not a rebounder. He's never rebounded in his life. But that was something that Ramon was really, really good at. Now, Damien's strengths are in other areas, and we've got to figure out how best to use him so he can play with confidence and, feel comfortable. So, but basketball season is never easy. I think the more consistent your program is, the more you start assuming things from the outside. But I've never been like that. I know how hard it is to win a game. It's hard to win a game. And that's why the next game we play has always been the most difficult one for me. And I never worry about what's next. So now, not only are we trying to prepare for a game, we're trying to use these days of practice a little bit differently because we got to get Damien up to speed in not necessarily a different role, but a role that requires him. And like he went in and got a really good offensive rebound the other day. It's a good start. But Damien's a really high character kid, great young man. And I know he's going to give us his best effort, and we're going to do our best to help him so he can help our team.
We'll go to Terrence Harris with the Houston Defender. Terrence, please go ahead, sir.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Hey, Terrence.
Hey, I know that, you guys, clearly you've had a lot of success in the postseason, but going from the ACC to, or AAC, I'm sorry, to the Big 12, how does that impact perhaps preparation for the tournament season? I mean, is there going through a much tougher type of schedule? Does that change anything for you guys?
Much tougher what?
I'm saying, how does it going from the AAC to the Big 12, how does that maybe impact, what you guys are able to do or how your preparation for the tournament season?
Well, I haven't been through an entire Big 12 season. We still have 4 games left. But the thing that I noticed is how it beats you down a lot. On one hand, you may say, well, you're playing better teams every night, so that'll help you get prepared for the tournament. I always thought we were prepared for the tournament before. We've been what is it? We're a 40-foot shot away from going to 5 consecutive Sweet 16. So I'm assuming that's pretty good. I know some people may say, but it's not this, but but no, I think the biggest hurdle is just health, Terrence. As simple as that sounds, is keep your team healthy. Because I go back to Cincinnati when they had Kenyon Martin. They were by far the best team in the nation. He broke his leg. Can't replace guys like that. You just want to stay healthy. You almost want to put them in a bubble, but you can't. I wish this team had Terrence Arson. I think he would have really helped us, especially the way he was playing. But we lost him. I think about that every day. You guys don't, because you're not the coach. Now we lost Ramon. I think about that. I wake up in the morning thinking about it, and I go to bed thinking about it. I come in the office, and I'm trying to figure some stuff out. So for me, it's just keep being able to stay healthy, which we have not. And so now we're just going to have to figure out how to, keep this thing in the water until the tournament. But we're no different than anybody else. We're certainly not special. Every coach has got injuries. Look at what Kansas has been dealing with all year. So this time of year, you're just trying to stay healthy and get to the tournament. It doesn't matter what conference you're in. I don't ever think about, when the schedule came out, I looked at the schedule. That's a tough schedule. And I looked to see who we played first, and it was West Virginia. So I said, let's go prepare and let's see if we can't go beat West Virginia. And then after that, I said, who's next? So that's kind of what I've done. I don't spend a whole lot of time worrying about what conference I'm in. I just worry about what school we play next.
Thanks, Coach.
You betcha.
Thank you, Terrence. We'll go to Jerome Solomon from the Houston Chronicle. Jerome, please go ahead.
I can't hear it.
Jerome, we
Can't
can't
hear
hear
you.
you, sir.
Oh, sorry about that, Coach. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I had myself muted. Hey, Coach, there's a lot of talk about storming the court, and there seems to be so many more issues with that now than there have been in the past. But before I get you to weigh in on that, I do want to take you back to at Washington State your last year there when you guys finally made it, when you were pretty sure you were going to make it to the NCAA tournament. You stood on the table while they were storming the court and said you're going dancing. And then
Yeah, I remember that.
your first year at OU, apparently it was the first time OU had ever stormed the court. Y'all beat #1 Kansas that year, and students stormed the court. So you've had some good moments when it stormed the court, and I'm assuming you probably had some where you were on the other side of it. What's your general take on it?
I like storming the court. I don't like having the court stormed on me, but we work so hard here at getting our students to come to games. Now, the shoe's on the other foot a little bit now with us, but I wish they could find a way to safely get the kids off the floor. I've read some people that have some good ideas about holding them back for 30 seconds or whatever. And I'm just trying to envision that. Good luck with that one. But it would take planning. Like if you're a top 10 team and you're going on the road, well, that's a possible court storming situation. So in our game management meetings this week, let's come up with a plan. Extra security, make public address announcer say, okay, and just in case Team A wins, there will be a 30-second wait before you can storm the court or come onto the court. But I just think the planning has to change. It's sometimes I look at some of these court storming and it's like they had no idea that they're even going to do it. So I think everything starts with the administration assuming that this could happen. So let's make sure we have a plan in place. And you don't have to have somebody tell you how to do it. You know, if you want to put a clock, 30 seconds on the clock, there doesn't need to be a rule for that. Go ahead and do it. You know, you control your environment, you control your arena. So I think each school in these situations, don't wait for the NCAA to tell you what to do. You figure it out yourself and you come up with your own plan. Because I bet you your plan will be better than theirs.
You think there's a possible thought of that when I know you got this next game and the next one you're concerned about, but when Kansas comes to Fertitta Center, that's going to be one of those kind of games.
Well, I would hope not.
No, I mean you could clinch the Big 12 title in that game possibly, so I would think your fans would be pretty excited.
Yeah. Well, we better have a plan, but our plan better be to beat Kansas. I ain't worried about the court storming. I might pay to fine myself.
The work they'll kick in on it.
Yeah. I'm sure I could get some help on that one, but that seemed like a long way away from me.
Thank you, Jerome. We have time for one or two more questions. We'll go to Randy McElvoy with KPRC TV. Randy, please go ahead.
Morning, Kelvin.
Good morning.
I had a question I wanted to ask you last week, and we ran out of time on your conference. But I've been obviously, like a lot of the fans, been watching the development of JoJo. And from your vantage point, can you just address kind of the growth he's had in his game? A guy you can count on for quality minutes, obviously making some plays.
Yeah,
being the young player that he is.
I'm sorry.
Just being the young player that he is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, JoJo has pretty good instincts. Now, like most freshmen, he don't know whether there's a foot or horseback half the time, but he also instinctively does things that pretty good. You know, he's a little bit better passer than you think. He's learned how to flip his screening angles to get Jamal downhill in the middle of the floor. Area he's got to get better in is he's got to be more productive, more efficient. You know, people will remember a great play, whereas I'll remember 5 plays he didn't make. His consistency, his productivity. Like we track certain statistics that's important to our success in rebounding. But you know, for those freshmen, it's a long year. You know, we started working with JoJo on a daily basis on June the 5th. Today is February 26th. You know, his high school season probably would have been over by now, or close to it, and he wouldn't have started practice till November. So he goes from November to the end of February, 1st of March. Now he's from June heading into March. It's a long season for him, and so we have to be very conscious of that. But just consistency is, I think, what young players fight more than anything, no matter how talented they are. You know, you go all the way back to when Kevin Durant was a freshman at Texas, or Hollis Price was a freshman at Oklahoma. You watch these they have great games, but they have Jarris Walker is a great example. Jarris had as many games where he struggled as when he did really well, but that's what being a freshman is. You know, unfortunately, some of these highly ranked kids don't ever come back for their sophomore year, but that's where their growth would occur. The summer after your freshman year through the fall to the start of your sophomore year is where most of our kids make their greatest progress. Somebody asked me about Emanuel Sharp earlier, and he's a perfect example of that. JoJo's had a good freshman year, but he's going to have a much better sophomore year.
Thank you, Randy. Time for our last question. We'll go back to Chris Gardner, please. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, what are your thoughts on the Bearcats and how they're playing lately since the first matchup?
Yeah, we really struggled with them at their place. West does a great job of getting his kids to play hard. They play physical, and they have great size. Against us, they started 7 foot, 6'11", and they brought another 6'11" kid off the bench. So their size inside is we have to game plan for that, and then their guard play with Thomas and James. They have 2 point guards that they're physical point guards. They're both about 6 foot, and they both weigh about 200 pounds. And then the Newman kid is a super athlete. He really played well against us last time. Left-handed kid. And then the kid that really is a big key for them is Lukosha's kid that transferred from Butler. He's a 6'8" guard that they run specific plays for. So that means that Emanuel or Damian or LJ, Jamal, any of those guys could be on him depending on what sets they're in. So, we respect every team in this league. I respect every coach in this league. I know how hard their jobs are. And, for us, having played them helps us personnel-wise, but, coaches always come up with new wrinkles. I watched their game this morning against TCU on Saturday, and he had put a couple new wrinkles in for that game. So, this late in the season, Chris, some of these teams you're playing twice. So we'll just line up and go play, and let's see if we can play good.